How's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Sactown Sports Kings recap. My name is Chris Watkins, joining you after the Sacramento Kings fall to the New York Knicks by a score 98-91 here on a Saturday at Golden One Center. And it was an ugly one. This is not the Kings, and this is where I'll start today, is Kings did not play their style of basketball, and I think that's the biggest reason why they lost today. They ended up playing New York Knicks basketball, and that's really ugly, gritty, not a lot of shot creation, and just really slowing down the pace. And the Kings played right into the Knicks' hands. I mean, they are a really, really grimy team. I think this is now the fifth straight game that the Knicks have held their opponents underneath 100 points. So this is exactly what they do, and the Kings really just weren't able to ever really get into a flow. There were some positives today. It definitely might not have felt like it because it was such an ugly game. I think the fact that they played defense themselves, the fact that they only allow the Knicks to score 98 points, I think that's only, I looked it up earlier, that is the seventh time this season the Kings have held an opponent underneath 100 points. So, yes, it was how the Knicks wanted to play, but the fact that the Kings didn't allow those guys, didn't really, honestly, they didn't allow anybody else besides Jalen Brunson to have themselves a great night. Dante DiVincenzo was chucking it up. He was 3 of 12 from three. That's just from three, 5 of 16 from the field. But Brunson was their superhero today. He had 42. He had a ridiculous second and third quarter. He had 27 points combined in that second and third quarter. In that second quarter, he had 15 points. He was just the best player on the floor today. And, you could say that's kind of inexcusable when you have a guy like De'Aaron Fox out there. You would like to think that, De'Aaron could recognize that and say, hey, I need to make sure that my team has what it takes to win on a night like tonight. And De'Aaron really struggled. He was 5 of 19 from the field, really was just inefficient all night long. 2 of 7 from three. We'll talk about Kevin Huerter. He didn't finish with a single point tonight. Keegan Murray was really rough from the three-point line. HB had some good looks that he couldn't knock down, unlike the other night. It was really just a really bad night for the Kings offense and for their shooters. And we've talked about it before. It's really tough for this team to win when they can't hit their threes. And this was, again, 27% is the magic number. They have not won a game this season when they shoot 27% or fewer. And I believe this is now the, let's see here, I wrote it down. This is the 8th time. They are now 0-8 when shooting under 27% from three. So that's not a good number that you should try and reach ever, but I think it definitely shows just that there is a breaking point for this offense. There is a certain they have to be in a certain level of flow offensively for anything to work for them, just because they get too down on themselves, and it ends up affecting their defense. Sorry, here, as I need to get this stream up on Facebook as well. Let me see here. There we go. We are now going live on Facebook as well. You can check us out for anybody who maybe is just joining us for the first time or hasn't joined us in a while here. We are live after every single Sacramento Kings game right here on the Sactown Sports 1140 YouTube channel, on the Twitter account or on the X account, and also just made sure to go live on Facebook as well. Really appreciate you guys hopping in here and wanting to talk, even after a loss like today. This was, you could definitely argue another game in which you say, hey, the Sacramento Kings play 2 of their best games of the season against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Los Angeles Lakers, and then come out after having a ton of rest and really lay an egg. I mean, I won't say that they didn't show up today. They definitely showed up today, again, on the defensive end, but just didn't look sharp. And again, just allowed New York to dictate the style of play. And there was enough misses tonight to where I thought the Kings really could have pushed the pace. The keys heading into tonight: limit the offensive rebounds. Last time these two teams played, the New York Knicks had 23 offensive rebounds. For those of you who will remember, it was on TNT last year around this time in the season, and the Knicks came in Josh Hart had 8 offensive rebounds. Isaiah Hartenstein had 5. And the Kings lost the game, and it eventually showed how the Kings would lose in the playoffs to Kevon Looney just getting killed on the offensive glass. So this year, that was the number one thing I was looking for in this matchup. Kings did a great job. First half, Knicks only had 2 offensive rebounds. Kings still couldn't really hit any shots. They were down 5, but I thought the fact that they were limiting the offensive rebounds was going to ultimately be the key. You don't give this Knicks team extra possessions, and you force them to execute their one time down the floor. However, in the second half, the Knicks finished with 11, so they had 9 offensive rebounds just in the second half. I believe 6 of those came in the third quarter. And, it wasn't as lethal as it were, as deadly, I guess, as it was last time for this team. But you compound that with the fact the Kings didn't hit shots. And, the second thing is the Kings had to get in transition. They had to force the Knicks to play an up and down style of play to try and, to try and make the Knicks essentially keep up with the Kings scoring. Obviously, that didn't happen tonight with the Kings only scoring 91. The Kings only finished with 9 points in transition, which is definitely not where they normally are at. They average around 14 points per game in transition. And so, to me, if I'm Mike Brown, those were the 2 biggest points that I would have tried to control. And the fact that neither of those things really went. I guess you can maybe say the offensive rebounds, I guess, relatively went in the Kings' favor, but ultimately, if you're giving up 8 in a half, 9 and a half, actually, that's a really bad pace to try and play against. And I can't imagine the Kings' offense this is a really weird one for me personally because you could definitely, like I just set up, you can definitely say this is two steps forward, 1 step back. But this game feels like its own individual entity. Like, not many teams, if any, play the style of basketball that the Knicks do, and the Kings still almost won today. So, it's not great. The Kings it would have been really awesome momentum-wise and vibe-wise to get this one. But ultimately, I don't think this really speaks to some bigger problem with this team. I don't really think that this is, again, a statement of, they can't keep consistency. I just think that this is a really weird matchup against a team that really, of course it's disappointing that the Kings don't win, but ultimately I think I'm just at the point where I'm not going to overreact to this game. And, while, it wasn't pretty and the Kings looked bad shooting the ball, I just feel like I'd much rather spin the positive of they played good defense and, hey, how many nights are they going to shoot this poorly from the field? It's kind of its own separate game. I kind of don't want to draw too many conclusions, at least about the team. Again, I know today is going to cause a big stir about Kevin Huerter. He finishes again with 0 points. He played 15 minutes, just under 16. Keon Ellis played just under 30. So for everyone who was making a big fuss about, you got to throw Keon in the starting lineup. How do you do this? How can you watch Kevin Huerter and still give him blind faith and trust Kevin more than you trust Keon? Just because you're starting does not mean that coach is going to go to you when it matters most. Kevin Huerter did not play the entirety of the fourth quarter. He played a small little run in the third, played for about 6 minutes in the third quarter, and then never checked back in. And Keon Ellis was on the floor at the end of the game. So I think that Mike Brown has at least let it known for now who he trusts. And, I'm not giving up hope for Kevin Huerter. I think that they're going to continue to give him opportunities because if he clicks, if it starts to fall for Kevin, I do think he's playing better defensively for what it's worth. But I think if his shot starts falling, you're going to see Kevin Huerter play. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. I know people want to, kick Kevin Huerter off of the team and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, he's going to help this team out. And, if he's not, if he doesn't have it on a given night, that's where it's a plus that Keon Ellis is playing as well as he is. And you can just throw him in there. And I think that's what Mike Brown said the other day. And he's sticking true to it, at least so far. Keon had 2 steals in that last quarter. I didn't think it was a great Keon Ellis performance. We're definitely not going to be gushing about him on Monday. It was a good game. Definitely, not, not a game that makes you consider, pulling him back out of the rotation or anything. But didn't really have the impact that we saw him have these last 2 games. Which you could argue maybe it's because he's not in the starting lineup, but. I just think that, in this game, I mean, I still think Keon provided a great service. He was clamping up Jalen Brunson for a large portion of tonight. Obviously, Brunson had it going, but I thought Keon did a great job of just kind of sticking in front of him and making a lot of tough looks for him. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how those defensive numbers look for Keon, especially, just how Dante looked tonight, too. I bet Keon's defensive numbers are still going to look really, really good tomorrow. Yeah, Dwayne, for sure. Only 2 forwards. Absolutely. Yes, I hear you. I hear you. Only having 2 forwards for sure. I think those forwards struggled today. They did, a good job defensively. OG Anunoby was terrible from 3 tonight. Bye, Morgan. OG was terrible tonight. 0-4, 1 of 8 from the field. He's just coming back from an elbow injury, and he took a pretty nasty fall in the first quarter. So the forwards did great defensively, but you saw HB get a ton of open looks against the Lakers and knock them down. Today I thought HB had a ton of open looks. They just didn't go down. Also kind of forced a couple of them. I didn't hate them, but just kind of looked like it was a little bit out of rhythm or a shot that maybe HB usually wouldn't take. And then Keegan, 1 of 7. You need your forwards to be better. With Sasha and Trey Lyles both out, those are the guys. Those are the 2 guys that the Kings are going to have to play against bigger bodies, and they have to play better. They just do. And the Kings did go 3-guard lineup heavy today. That's their primary rotation at about the 6-minute mark in the first and third quarter. They went 3-guard lineup with Davion, Keon, and Malik checking in with HB and Sabonis. I thought it looked good. Davion didn't really have that great of a game. Malik kind of had a slow start. And again, HB was kind of missing, so I don't think some of the lineups looked great today. There was, again, a little weird stint where there was no Fox or Sabonis out there on the floor, and I think it was somebody texted me. Alan texted me the lineup, actually. He said, let's see here. Shout out Alan, who was at the game as a fan today. He said Ellis, Herter, Davion, Keegan, Sabonis. Crazy lineup. It wasn't even that one that I was talking about, but there was a brief period where Fox and Sabonis were both off the floor, and those minutes just never look good for the Kings. They just don't. And I think that you're just going to have to figure out how to play without staggering those guys. I mean, I know you're going to have to learn to play with staggering those guys. Only staggering those guys. But tonight is also a game where, again, just ultimately I feel like, Kings aren't going to win many games that they shoot 35% from the field, and especially not 27% from 3. And I don't know how often it's going to happen. I don't know how many defenses are capable of playing this physical at this level. I feel like the Knicks are just kind of a one-off case here. I don't know. Yeah, let me see your guys' comments. Let me see what everybody is saying in here. We rely on the 3 too much. 37 threes tonight. I did not realize that, Manny, at all. We relies on threes way too much at the end, and I feel like but credit to the Knicks, they did their thing tonight, and I'll take the L because we definitely tried fighting back. Absolutely. I think that's a great synopsis of everything right there. The Kings, I didn't realize they took 37 threes. We've tracked that number a couple times on this show, and it's definitely been less here recently. They've had a lot of it's been a while since they've even been near that 43 mark. And let me see here when the last time they got to, well, actually these last 2 games they've taken 43s. I didn't even realize that, but it does seem like they've taken an uptake. There was a little 3-game stretch there, really 4 and 5 games where they had under 33 threes. So it seems like they've kind of fallen back into their old ways a bit. And I didn't love it. I definitely didn't love down the stretch that De'Aaron Long 2. I just think that's not a good shot. I know he kind of took it in rhythm. He shook off Brunson a bit, but that's statistically the worst shot in basketball is a long three, or I'm sorry, a long two. And in that moment, kind of felt like the Kings could have used a shot at the rim. I think they were down 4, and then you had a Malik rushed 3 that wasn't great. And it was not great in clutch time, and that's when the Kings were at their best last year. Of course, obviously, De'Aaron winning that award, it was where the Kings made their money last year, and they were not good tonight in the clutch. Really, on either side, I didn't really love it. There were a couple 24-second violations tonight, just in general. I thought the Kings did a great job of sticking with their man and fighting. Like that's absolutely why I don't feel terrible about tonight. It's just a little bit rough to not get that result, man. I mean, because they had it, they really did. And the officials worked. Manny, you were on it. You're on it tonight. They were really, really bad tonight. A lot of bad out of bounds calls where it just felt like one team clearly knocked it out, and it would be called the opposite. There was a couple 50-50 balls where they called them one on Malik Monk, and then another one happened, and they didn't call any foul. Just a lot of really – and they swallowed their whistle on – at the beginning of the game, there was that play where Hartenstein kind of pulled down Sabonis by the waist. No call. It was just really, really strange. There were a couple moments tonight where it was really physical, and guys were getting pulled to the ground, and there was no whistle at all. So definitely seems like the NBA has told referees to let the boys play out there a little bit. Absolutely shortcake, yeah. Someone might get fined. De'Aaron got a tech today. He was not happy at the official. It was a really weird timed call as well. They stopped the Knicks from getting an offensive rebound to give De'Aaron a tech. So yeah, De'Aaron wasn't happy. Keon wasn't happy today. Mike Brown had to yell at the officials a couple times because they made him waste a timeout to call a challenge on something that was really obvious. So I would not surprise me if right now Mike Brown is active in the process of getting fined. Let me see if any comments yet, or any quotes from the post game, but interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, for sure. Yes, look at this growth. I love these takes, people. Great fight from the team. It's the little mistakes that cost us the game. The officiating was bad. Very measured, very calm. I love it. I love it. We got the smartest listeners in the NBA, for sure. Yeah, a lot of push-offs. Yeah, in general. Again, the referees, I would say across the board on both sides, were really bad tonight. You know how you know the officials were bad? The Kings had a massive free throw advantage, 26-16. Kings never, ever, ever get to the line, and it was a strange game. Didn't really feel like there's much consistency, like I said, with the 50-50 balls. A lot of tiptoeing out of bounds that were called and weren't called. It was just it was sloppy. Like the officials just didn't have control of the game, and I know that usually is something that we want to avoid, but more just consistency. It just felt like there was absolutely no consistency tonight. Wasn't too happy with the King. Yeah, again, definitely those last possessions, I 100% agree. Those last possessions were not great. It feels like, again, I mean, just to kind of tie in what other people have said, it just feels like this team settles for threes way too much, or just doesn't try and get to the rim nearly enough. And, they have Domantas Sabonis, they've got De'Aaron Fox, they've got Malik Monk, they've got guys who you would think you get them downhill, you get them in a finishing situation, and they can put it in. But they just really like to take jump shots, and they are not a jump shooting team. So I completely agree. that those last 4 possessions just were not it. And I always just think, like, with the possessions or with the shots that they ended up taking, I always just think, can you get that shot with 5 seconds to go, last resort? And if the answer is yes, then it's probably not a good shot to take with 18 seconds. And it felt like the shot that De'Aaron took is definitely one that, okay, you can get if there's 8 seconds to go and De'Aaron has the ball and the play you just tried to run doesn't work. Then you can have a De'Aaron ISO. That's fine. But having a De'Aaron ISO with 18 seconds left on the clock is just a bad. It's an unnecessary risk. Like, sure, if it goes in, you look like a baller. It's a clutch shot. But when it doesn't, it's an early look, and it's kind of not trusting your teammates. I mean, that's why they call it hero ball. It's feeling like, oh no, a bad De'Aaron Fox shot is better than us trying to work the ball around and maybe get an open Keegan Murray 3 or an open HB 3. And again, I'm not saying he might not be wrong depending on the time, but at least give your guys a shot to get open first before you chuck up something like that. Let me see here. Wow, this is a great fact from Kingpin, and I just double-checked it. The Kings only have 5 wins when scoring under 120 points. They are, let me see how many games that is. 39. So they are 5 and, what is that, 34? Or is that now 40? Is that now 40? No, 39. Yeah, 5 and 34 on the season when scoring under 120 points. That is insane. That's a great number, Kingpin. Wow. Yeah. Clutch Kings are last year's Kings. Yeah, it feels like it. I mean, when was the last game winner that this team had, or you know, I'm not saying they haven't performed at all in the clutch this year. They've won some overtime games. You know, of course, that game the other day where I can't remember who the opponent was, but when Sabonis got that steal at the last second and dunked it in, of course, I think that was the Spurs. They've had clutch moments, but, you know, last year, you know, you have the Orlando game winner from De'Aaron. You've got the Chicago game winner from De'Aaron. You've got the classic Clipper game as well. It just hasn't really felt like the clutch has served the Kings as well as it did last year. Yeah, absolutely. This is what playoff basketball looks like, honestly. And tonight had a bit of playoff basketball feel, for sure. For sure. Yeah, Keegan's been really streaky. It's kind of gone under the radar. Again, I feel like a lot of people are going to talk about Kevin Huerter and his struggles right now, but Keegan Murray here, let me see if I can pull up his game log. Keegan Murray's had a really tough time here recently, and I don't know, again, I talked about it earlier, I don't know if it's the fact that he's just kind of fatigued from not really having much time off, but yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so in 6 of his last, I mean, he hasn't scored 20 in his last 6 games, but yeah, he had that 19-point game against the Lakers. That was, of course, a good game. But from 3, man, he has just really, really struggled from the perimeter. This is his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game in 6 of his last 7 games. He's had 1 or fewer threes, and that's what Keegan Murray's out there to do. And he just has not been able to hit from the perimeter, and we've seen, you know, maybe it is because of the uptick in defensive intensity and, you know, just kind of what they're asking of him, but he's got to hit shots. I mean, especially come playoff time, man, like the Kings need Keegan Murray to be Keegan Murray, or the Keegan Murray that we think he is. Yeah, for sure. This is probably where, I mean, they have like sets that they can run, and I mean, they're essentially plays. They just, yeah, they definitely did not run them in the. But that's not specific to the Kings. Nobody runs plays besides after timeout plays, really down the stretch. Down the stretch is where players make their money. That's where, you just put the ball in Kevin Durant's hands and you say, create a bucket. You give Devin Booker the ball, you give De'Aaron Fox the ball, and you say, hey, man, you're a superstar. You are a, whatever, X $40 million player. Go make that money right now. So I don't have that big of a problem with the fact that they didn't. Didn't love the shots, but not many, if any, teams run plays at the end of games. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look at this. The Knicks. There's some Knicks fan in here. I disagree, man. I don't think. I didn't feel like Brunson was getting fouled that much. I mean, Keon Ellis was low-key clamping him for the portion that he was on him, but I mean, I'm not trying. Brunson was sick. I mean, he was ridiculous tonight. He was the best player on the floor, and that's why the Knicks won, because Brunson was incredible for those two quarters. For the second and third quarter, he was on one. But we'll have something for him in the Garden. Just wait, okay. Just wait. And shout out the Knicks again. Like, what the Knicks have made here is really, it's something really cool. And in a way, like, the Knicks have gone through since the 90s, kind of what the Kings have gone through since the 2000s, where they're both teams are trying to get over the hump. And now they're finding the light at the end of the tunnel. So in a weird way, like, I mean, I'm rooting for the Knicks. I think that the fact that they play their own unique style of basketball is really interesting. We've seen how Miami has kind of taken their style and used it to have deep playoff runs. Not enough people talk about the fact that the Knicks beat the Cavs last year in the first round easily. Okay, there was a lot of hype around that Cavs team. Knicks beat them no problem. I think that they're a tough team. They got a great coach. They run a very unique style of play that not a lot of teams can prepare for during the regular season. It'll be interesting, how this team looks with Julius Randle back. I do think that, once Julius comes back, I think he's going to ask Brunson to take that back seat. And I think, as we saw on a night like tonight, I think that team is best with Jalen Brunson as their best player. I've never really been much of a Julius Randle guy, but it just kind of feels like this is a version of the Knicks that they should be. It's just D up and shoot as many threes as possible, is really it. Obviously they kind of need another offensive weapon on their team, but I really like what the Knicks have going for them. It's just, it'll be interesting to see how far they could take it. Because it is a little, obviously they're not out here running zone like Miami is, but it's a kind of like a Jim Boeheim team where it feels like they can kind of just their different style of play can really throw off certain teams, but it's not going to throw off every team. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how far they can take this. But they're a good team, man. They're a really good team. They got some dogs. They have an identity, which is huge, just knowing who you are, the kind of guys that you want out there. It's huge. I think this Kings team is kind of in an identity crisis a bit, where they have all these shooters, but at the same time they want to be a more defensive team. So I definitely can respect the fact that the Knicks just kind of know who they are and are unapologetically who they are. The Kings, again, want to be a three-point shooting team, but also want to be a defensive-minded team, and it feels like one is always at the expense of the other. And it's just really frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. But again, on a night like tonight, I don't get mad at a game like today. You just got to kind of chalk it up as another night in the NBA and move on. And, the Kings have a lighter schedule here ahead. We know that that's been the real boogeyman for this team, not games against good teams. It's really been a problem of getting up to play the bad teams. And got a little streak of bad teams here. They got the Grizzlies coming up. When is that? The 18th. That's on Monday. Then they go to Toronto, then travel to Washington to play the Wizards. Play a good team in the Orlando Magic, but yet a team that is not as good as they were the last time these two teams played. And then play the 76ers, who have really, really struggled as of late and scored 79 points in back-to-back games against this very Knicks team when they played them last week. So the schedule definitely softens up here before the Kings have to take care of business down the stretch in late March and early April. And hopefully, I'm calling this portion of the season eating your veggies, because it's not going to be exciting. It's not going to be sexy, but you have to take care of business here. It's just the part of the meal that you've got to get through, and you have to do what you're supposed to do here, because that back-to-back against the Mavericks, that could be a huge swing in the standings. The Kings have some tough opponents back-to-back at the end of the season, including one more game in New York against this Knicks team down the stretch. And so you've got to put yourself in the best possible situation. As we've seen, this Western Conference just fluctuates day by day. So if you can go after this game on a nice 4-5 game winning streak heading into those Maverick games, man, you're setting yourself up for success. And hopefully the Kings can continue to be on pace to avoid this play-in, because the closer and closer we get to it, the more and more nervous I get that just things will not go their way if they leave it up to a one-game elimination. So hopefully they can keep their heads above water. I think today, even though they lose, I'm pretty sure, no, they now fall to the 7th seed. I believe Phoenix plays tomorrow. If Phoenix loses, then the Kings will be back into the 6th seed. So in standings watching until Monday. Just double check. Yeah, and the Suns play the Bucks tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So that's going to be a tough one. Good morning, Phoenix. That's going to be a tough one for them. Hopefully the Kings can slide back into 6th on Monday, where, again, they will play the Memphis Grizzlies. I really don't want to do 3 stars of the night tonight because it feels like nobody deserves it. But, again, I'm going to try and stay consistent. 1 star. You know what? Let's give our first star of the night to HB, Harrison Barnes. Even though I said he wasn't really knocking down all of his shots tonight, he did knock down a couple. And the fact he gets 16 points, he went to the line 4 times in that first quarter even, I think, after not going to the line at all against the Lakers. I think that 16 points from HB is something you'll take every day. It was a really good opportunity for him. He took really good opportunities to take it to the rim and get to the line a couple times. He knocked down a couple open shots. He's getting open looks, which I think is a step in the right direction, but just couldn't knock him down tonight. And it's fine, because he wasn't the only one on this team. But man, yeah, if a couple more of those threes go down tonight, might go a whole lot different. 2 stars. I'm going to give 2 stars to Domantas Sabonis. 21 points, 14 boards, continues his double-double streak. The problem I have is Sabonis had 3 points in that second half. At halftime, he had 18 and 7, 8 of 11 from the field. Finishes 9 of 16, 21 points, 14 boards. Kings' offense was just rudderless in that second half. It's Sabonis really couldn't do anything in the second half to get it going. He had 5 turnovers tonight. That's been a problem for him a lot this season. It just wasn't good enough, and it's fine. He brings it every single night, but on a night like tonight, you just kind of would have hoped that he would have done better with Isaiah Hartenstein, but that, he's also a big guy, big, strong guy. Sabonis really couldn't throw his body around and will throw his will around the same way he could against AD. So a bit disappointing there, but still, nonetheless, 21 and 14 from your center. You got to take that. Double-double streak now at 49 games. He's now 4 away from Kevin Love, who has the all-time record. Well, something tells me he's going to get it. I think his opportunity to break it will be against the Sixers, and of course the Sixers still will more than likely, if not 100%, be without Joel Embiid that game. So, yeah, I would suspect that Sabonis will probably get that record. 3 stars. I'm not going to give it to De'Aaron. 5 of 19 for him today. 2 of 7 from 3. He did get to the line 10 times, missed 2 of them. I'm going to give my 3 stars to Malik Monk tonight because he brought it in that. Was it in that fourth quarter or in that third? Really just in the second half. He had 10 points in the second half, 5 in the third, 5 in the fourth. But his shot making tonight kept the Kings in the game when things started to go bad. They checked Malik Monk in. He hit. I think he had that sick lob from De'Aaron earlier in the game, and then I think Malik might have hit 2 threes right after he checked in. I thought he was really good tonight. Not the most efficient night. 3 of 9 from the 3-point line. Did get to the line twice. He was 3 of 3. And 6 of 14 overall from the field. Nothing crazy. 4 assists from Malik, 2 turnovers, 4 fouls. It just wasn't a great night all across the board. And sure, whatever. I'll do it. Big task. Only because you're here. I appreciate all of our viewers. Even if you are a Knicks fan, at least you're not a Laker fan. At least you're not a Warrior fan. I can deal with one stray Knicks fan. I will give 6 stars, if you please, to Jalen Brunson because he did cook. He did cook. I will not hate. Jalen Brunson was the best player on the floor today, and there's really nothing else I can say about it, man. He was amazing. Like he was really good. I have to admit I was not a Jalen Brunson believer before this season, or yeah, I guess I would say before this season. Really, I just thought he was too small. Even if he was going to be like a high usage player, I didn't think it would lead to winning. But the dude is sick, man. The dude, it does not matter his height. I saw him. He's really crafty. He can shoot. He can lead a team, and he's just a great New York Knick, man. I really do. I really do appreciate the fact that Brunson has brought an energy back to that team because, it's a bit of a cliche, but I do think the league is better when the Knicks are good and with Knick fan energy at an all-time high. And you know what? He's also perfect for this team. Again, if you're going to just muck it up and play ridiculously tenacious defense, keep teams under 100, Jalen Brunson's the perfect star to have. It's a lot like, and I don't mean this to sound disrespectful if it does, but it's kind of like that Isaiah Thomas Celtics season where, he might not be really like one of the top 10 or 15 players in the NBA talent-wise, but just for what his role is with that team, he looks like an MVP candidate. And you know what? He got MVP chance tonight, and there wasn't really anything anybody could say because he was dominant. He was sick. So, hey, shout out my guy Sean. Shout out Sean. Always grinding out there. Appreciate you hopping in here, Sean. Yeah, man, we got to get you out to a game. It's been a minute, bro. Where you been at? Where have you been, Sean? Come on out. We miss you out here. But yeah, what a weird day here at Golden One Center. I'm glad to see that most of the chat has been reasonable and kept a level head and haven't been back to this team and I can't with these guys. This is why you're going to lose in the first round. Glad to see that all of our commenters at least have been pretty level headed and today was just an ugly game. You were hoping to get the result. Ultimately, your team didn't have it. On to the next one. I don't think the Knicks are really a formula that a lot of teams replicate. So I think ultimately it's okay. It's okay. All right. I am going to head on out. Appreciate you guys hopping in here on a Saturday. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to get out there and, there's no beam, so I guess I'm just going to go out there and twiddle my thumbs or something. Sean, come on out here. No more excuses. I'm sick of it. You're killing it, though. You are killing it, my man. Go check out Sean's work, and y'all have a fantastic weekend. Peace.